Hello, and welcome to Stitch to New. I'm Lynn, and you'll probably hear Lady Girl in the background. She's attacking her bed again. But today, I thought I would talk about the topic of how I organize my fabric. So in the last few videos, I've showed you about reorganizing the mess I made, cleaning it up. So today, I thought I would take a little bit of time and explain a little bit more in detail how I organize my fabric. You'll see I've got most of it here behind me, lots over here to the side. I have fabric everywhere, which makes me happy. I love my fabrics. And like I said, today I'm just going to take a few moments and show you how I organize them, how I fold my fabrics, how do I get them standing up like this, why I get them up like that. So, here we go. Okay, so here's my main fabric. I have these 3 towers here, and I've got them arranged by color. So I've got all my blues going down into the aquas, and then the bottom I've got blacks and yellows. I have the least of those. I have a lot of blues, so I use the whole tower. These are my specialty prints, some of my favorites. Lots of neutrals. I use a lot of neutrals and backgrounds to go with my other fabrics when I'm doing my quilting and sewing projects. Shelf for purples coming around. 2 shelves full of red. Some grays and reds into the neutrals. Some novelty prints. Children's prints. And then the bottom, which you can't see real good there, are browns and greens. And then here in the middle, I have, these are 5-inch charms. And then fat quarters. So that's how I store those. These are, if I didn't mention it earlier, these are Billy bookcases. These are the narrow ones. This one is the regular size. This one in the middle is also a Billy bookcase, but it's the shorter one. I think this one's like 31 inches. So I used that one, and I bought an extra shelf so I can put my charm packs and fat quarters folded into squares there. I do have some fat quarter bundles in there. Again, some neutrals in bundles and in the fat quarters. These are some projects that I hope to start pretty soon. There's my what's in the box. I've got box number 2 there. Hopefully next video we'll be finishing up that one. This one I have removed a shelf here, and I have a few bolts. Now this wider shelf, for the most part, I do craft shows, so I keep my fabrics for the craft shows. There's Lady Girl. Come to say hello. Hello, Lady Girl. So these are the bolts that I use a lot of. I have 10-inch stacks here. Those are some quilted fabrics I use for my quilt shows coming up. Jelly rolls. I'm not real happy with how I've got them in here, but that's how I've got them. They're stacked 2 deep on both sides. These are some fat quarter jelly roll. They're like packaged flat, so I set them there. And then again, these are the fabrics that I use for my craft shows, so I just have those, there we go, standing up there. So I'll start with how and why I store my fabric like this. So on my shelves, I started out, some people would lay them flat. Let me come over here. Let me move some of these so I can show you what I'm talking about. Give me a sec. So if I were to lay my fabrics flat like this, let me come over so you can see them from the side a little bit better. I could fit more on the shelves. I definitely could cram more in here. I could do more across. But every time I would need a fabric, I would have to come and pull it out and mess them up and possibly drop everything on the floor. all unorganized, in my opinion. So instead, I do my fabrics like this, and I can come over and say, oh, okay, I want this one, and pull it out, and still have all the fabrics in order. And then I can put this right back into the slot. Sorry, doing all this one-handed. Yep, not working. So I could slide it right back into the spot where it came out of and not have to worry about, other than trying to shove it in there with all the others, messing up the fabric I've got. So I can pull one out without disturbing all the rest of them. And then I like having them in colors and then like categories. So like over here, I told you I have, these are all my like novelty prints. Most of these are like Star Wars, because boy mom crazy about Star Wars prints. And then these are all like children's prints. So I use those a lot in in our sewing ministry at church, where we do the children's quilts. I'll use those. And then like I said, there's those browns and greens you couldn't see good earlier. So let me take you over to my cutting table, and I have laid out some of my fabric, and I'm going to show you how I actually fold it to get it like this and what I use. Okay, so I got some scrunched up fabric here that needs to go into my system. So what I use are comic book boards. I think they come in two different sizes. This is the size that I buy just because that's what I started with, so I kept. So they're comic book boards, and mine are 6 3/4 by 10 1/2. It comes in a pack of 100. Show what they look like. They are acid-free, archival. So I don't have to worry about them turning yellow or acids messing up my fabrics if they've been on there for a while. So they're just little thin boards. They're all cut the same size, and I like using them. I bought, I don't know, a couple hundred to start with, and then as I've needed them through the years, I would order more. But I know you guys have seen me. This drawer right here is where I keep them. So I just keep them stacked in here, and when I need one, I pull it out. When I use a piece of fabric and I've taken it off and used all that will fit on here, I just put them back in here and reuse them. So probably 4 or 5 years ago, I bought a couple hundred, and then maybe another 100 later, and I just keep recycling them. I'm sure there's more than 100 here, but I will use them and reuse them and use them and use them and use them. So once you've made the initial investment, and I will look it up. I will try to leave an Amazon link below for these, but it's less than $20, at least it used to be, for a pack of 100 of these on Amazon. So let me show you, let me set up the camera a little different, and I'll show you how I actually put these on the boards. Okay, so here's my fabric. I'm going to start with this one. This one is a yard of fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is open it up. Let me move this one over to the side. So this is how the fabric will come off the bolt. This wide. What I like to do, this is just me, you could, it doesn't really matter which side is up. I like to fold it so that the salvage edge is up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fabric as it comes off the bolt, so it's already folded. This is the fold, this is the salvage edge down here. And I'm going to pull the salvage up even with the fold. And just flatten it out. Okay. So now, my comic book board, I'm just going to set it a couple of inches from the end. No big deal. I don't really measure or anything. I'll just set it in a few inches from the end and then fold that piece over the board. And then I'm just going to pick it up and fold it over all the way down to the end. If I have just this little piece left, I will unfold that last one, fold this back to the middle and fold it back again. And that's how I would put this on the shelf. Now, I do have these clips. These are called alligator clips. Can you see that? You can buy these on Amazon too. They're usually $100 for $5 or so. If I can find them, I'll put a link for those on Amazon as well. They're called alligator clips. They use them in with clothes to like clip them to the hangers or to clip them to the boards they use for dress shirts or whatever. But they're called alligator clips. If you want to, you can clip one at the top and one at the bottom, and now they don't come undone. I have these. I bought a whole bunch to start with, and I used them. So on some of my fabric, I'll have them. Some I don't. If I put them on there, fine. If I don't, fine. They're okay. They do stretch. You'll see here's one that's brand new. Here's one that's been used. And again, I recycle these. They're just cheap plastic. They do break. I do lose them. No big deal. Like I said, they're super, super cheap. They're supposed to be disposable because they're just on clothes to hold them either like to their hanger or their cardboard until it gets to the consumer, and then you just throw them away. So I use those sometimes on here. Alright, so let me show you. So this is a 1 yard piece. I would do this 1/2 yard and up. And I have done as many as like 7, 8, 9 yards of fabric like this. You just would have a fatter piece taking up space on your shelf. So my next piece I had, this one. This is a 2 yard piece. So it's more than what will fit easily here on my board at one time. But it's the same thing. So I'm going to find, okay, this is how it would come off the bolt. This is my salvage down here. Here's my fold. And I'm just going to spread it out and flatten it out. And I'm going to start on one end and pull that salvage up to the fold. And I'm right-handed, so I'm just going to meet that salvage to that fold and just pull it to my left until I get to the end. And if I had 5 yards, 6 yards, I would go all the way down the amount of fabric I had till I got to the end. And then I just have, see, this is just kind of sitting here, or I could even do it like that. So here's my end. And again, I'm just going to put my comic book board on there, fold a few inches over, and just roll it and pull. And I'm making sure everything is laying flat and that my salvage and that fold are laying even with each other the whole way. The reason for making sure everything is nice and flat and smooth, if there are wrinkles in here, they're going to stay wrinkled and everything until you open the fabric up, and then I'm going to have to iron the fabric. Doing it this way, making sure that everything is nice and flat and even, this is going to stay wrinkle-free like this for as long as I have it until I open it. So again, see, I know this is going to be more than what would go there. So I'm just going to take this end, fold it in half, and there we go. And if I wanted to, I could put the clip on it. You could do just the top, you could do the bottom. There are some metal clips. They're a little bit longer and flatter, but they're a little bit expensive. I want to say it's like $20 for like 20 of them. Instead of, like I said, these are really inexpensive, like $5 for 100 kind of thing. And then when I go to put the fabric on the shelf, I'll note which end has the salvage end, and I make them all go the same way. So both of my salvage ends are this way. This is the end that had the fold. So when I put them on my shelf, I'll put them this way. And I'll just slide them into the collection I have on the shelf. Okay, so these are the fabrics. I actually bought these on my Pigeon Forge trip when I went to Mountain Quilt Fest. So these I've got here. because I've got a special project I want to try to do with these, and I wanted to pull them out and leave them. So these, and I'll just slide them. See, here's that selvage edge on the bottom, folded edge on the top, and I'll just slide them in. And you'll notice, let me pull you around, see if you can see that a little bit better. So with these on the shelf, you'll see these two are a little bit wider. There's more yardage on those. These two and this one, there's only a yard on these. And I know that because these all came from Mountain Quilt Fest, so that was just a couple weeks ago, so I remember the yardage. So I know there's less yardage on those. So when I'm looking at my whole collection, if I've got a little bit fatter one, I know there's more yardage on that. If I got a really fat one, I know that there's right much fabric on that one. So I can kind of tell yardage based on what's here. Now I will do this anywhere from half a yard. Like I said, I've done upwards of 6, 7, 8 yards because sometimes I will buy that much fabric to do a backing. Now let's move over here to the fat quarters. Okay, so here's my fat quarters. These are actually charm squares from here to about here. So a charm square, if you don't know, are 5-inch squares. And I get suckered in with these so bad. They're 5-inch charm squares. It's an entire line of fabric, and they cut them into 5-inch squares. Let's see, there's usually 42 in a set. This one happens to be Terrytown by Ruby Star Society. I buy them, they're so cute, and then I don't want to open them. Sometimes I'll buy more than one so that hopefully I have enough to do an entire quilt out of. This one is Pin Drop by Riley Blake. It's got a little thread there. So I just stack them here on the shelf just as they came packaged. I'm not doing anything special with those. Like I said, all of these are charm packed. Then these are my fat quarters, and I know this is probably not the way to store them with the sticker still on them, but it's the way that I store them. So these are, pull this set out, these actually, I don't remember. So these may have come from Joann's forever ago, because for some reason I just don't like pulling out fat quarters to sew with them. But again, I tried to group them together by color. You'll see I've got red into black into gray, and then moving down gray, pink, orange into yellow, into green, purple, brown, black, and then blue. As I said, red and blue I usually wind up in trouble with. Most fat quarters will come folded somehow into a square. Yeah, Mickey A girl. You coming to check us out? Nope, don't want to go. Some, I have gotten some of these that are into little triangles. And they're just so cute folded up like this. But I didn't want to take them out. So I just left them like that and added them in. So again, they're just in there. Right, come here. Come on. And then down here are my, oh, there she comes. Down here are my fat quarter bundles. So a fat quarter, if I didn't say, is, and let's pull one out and see. Oh, of course I got one without a label. Let me pull that red one because I knew it had. So fat quarters are 18 by 21 inch piece of fabric. So a half yard of fabric is 18 inches wide by the width of fabric. A 1/4 inch of fabric is 9 inches by the width of fabric. So to get a fat quarter, you would cut the piece of fabric in a half yard and then cut it on that fold at the top. So you would have 18 inches across and 21 inches tall. That just puts it into a better, more usable piece of fabric. So you still have a 1/4 yard of fabric It's just cut very differently instead of just saying I want a 1/4 yard off the bolt, because then you only get 9 inches wide by the width of fabric. So here you get 18 inches wide by 21. So it's just a more usable size of fabric. Usually you can find these just about any quilt shop, Walmart, Hobby Lobby. To me, they're kind of like crack, and I buy them, but then I don't use them because I don't want to cut into them. Let me set that one up there. All right. So you can also buy collections, which are like a group. So here's a whole bundle from a fabric collection that has been grouped. So this is a group of, let's see, this one has, doesn't say. Yeah. So this one has 27 different fabrics from the same line. You see, they all go together. So if you're looking to do a quilt and have everything match, this is a great way to buy fabric. You get a whole fat quarter bundle, and you get the whole collection, or most of the collection, and you know it will all go together. So I've also got, like, this one is an older Riley Blake series. This one's got 18 pieces in the bundle. This one is an old Peter Pan. Let's see, what's this one called? Neverland set. And again, it's so cute and pretty that I just don't want to open it. So I have to make myself stay away from pre-cuts because they're so beautiful, and I just don't use them. All right, what other sizes of fabric? Okay, so from the Fat Quarter Shop, I have these. They're called Jolly Bars. All right, so let me slide over here and grab one of these others. Okay, this is called a layer cake. A layer cake is 10-inch squares. So again, the designer has taken fabric from the entire line. Usually you get 42 pieces. Yeah, 42 pieces. This one is, what is this one called? Blue Stitch. This one's called Blue Stitch. Any of these I have had and had and had. I'm sorry if you guys really like them and you can't find them. This one is called Blue Stitch. So this one is called a layer cake. You see, it kind of looks like a cake, I guess, when you lay it down. And they are all 10-inch pieces, 10 inches by 10 inches from the same line. And again, you probably get one, at least one of every one in the collection, and then they will double up on some of those. So this is a layer cake. Now, the other piece I was showing you is called a Jolly Bar. These are exclusive to the Fat Quarter Shop. A Jolly Bar is a half of a layer cake. Okay. So it is 5 inches tall by 10 inches. So you can take these and use them just like this, and usually each Jolly Bar will have a pattern that goes with it for each set. So again, it's an entire collection, all matching, and they put them all in one package, but you get usually 42 5-inch by 10-inch pieces of fabric. Now with either one of these, give me a lady girl, you can take this Jolly Bar and cut it in half and have 5-inch charm squares, and you would have 2 of every one in the collection. You could take the layer cake and cut it once on the vertical and once on the horizontal, and you'd have 4 5-inch charm squares of every single fabric in the collection. So you can do that. However, I will warn you, all of these are the most expensive way to buy fabric. The least expensive way to buy fabric is to buy it by the yard. Yardage is going to be your best deal, but if you see these collections and they are so yummy and you want a piece of everything in the collection, this might be better for your budget to buy something like this, a fat quarter bundle, than to buy like 1 or 2 yards of 42 different types of fabric. So depending on what you're doing and what your project is, this might be more economical for the one project that you're working on instead of 42 yards of fabric in the collection. Especially if you're like me and you don't know exactly what it is you're going to do with these. So hopefully in this series, you guys are going to keep me accountable and we're going to get through a lot of this fabric, hopefully, and make some beautiful projects. So that is, let's see, oh, last thing, another pre-cut we have. Jelly rolls. So you'll see it kind of looks like a cinnamon roll or a jelly roll. These are 2.5-inch wide strips by the width of fabric. So they would be 2.5 inches wide by 40, 42, 44, depending on how wide your fabric is, strips. And there's usually one strip from every fabric in the line. And usually these will have 42 strips in them. And there are all kinds of projects for jelly rolls. And again, you'll see I've got multiple jelly rolls. They're double stacked there. They're lady girl. And they're double stacked here. And I haven't done anything with them because they're just so pretty. I don't want to take them apart. Now, this is usually how you'll see a jelly roll. This is also a jelly roll. But you'll see it's flat. This is a mini jelly roll. This one only has, I think there's 24 fabrics from the line. So maybe the line only had 24 fabrics, or maybe they just wanted to do a mini. These are also, this one is also, oh sorry, this one is a Jolly Bar. This one came in one of the Sew Sampler boxes I got when I used to subscribe to those, and I have yet to make a project with it. So this is a Jolly Bar. But there are also, let me find them, this one. This is one of the half jelly rolls. Again, this one, so you'll see that's a regular size jelly roll, and that's a half jelly roll. So it's just a little bit smaller number of jelly roll strips in the package on the big one. So you see the difference. So again, I just stacked mine here. This is one, I bought this one forever and ever and ever ago. This was my very first jelly roll that I ever bought. I had never seen jelly rolls before. I went to a quilt shop that no longer even exists, and they were making their very own jelly rolls, and I just had to have it. I just absolutely loved it. And you'll see, still there. I bet you it was 15 years ago I bought this. And I'm like, they're so pretty, but I don't want to take them apart. So I need to find some projects for those, and those will be in some more upcoming issues. So right now, that's how I stack. I just stack them. And jelly rolls, these I've got flat. These actually came from Walmart. They are fat quarter bundles of Pioneer Woman that I got from Walmart, and there's 5 different ones in there. These I use at my craft shows. If I can find them, I get them. Pioneer Woman is very, very popular fabrics when I do my craft shows. So these will be made up for my craft shows, which is why they're with this stuff. And then the layer cakes, I just have them standing up there because they fit well on these Billy bookcases, and that's the only spot I really had for that would fit those. But there's my fabric on comic book boards. This is how I do my jelly rolls. That's my 10-inch layer cakes. You'll see, tilt you down just a little bit. There's my bolts. Instead of just moved one of the shelves here, so I have room for bolts there. There's how I store, just have them stacked up on end is how I do my charm packs and my fat quarters. And these charm packs, I really don't like them like this because I really can't tell what's in them. So like, oh, that's so pretty, but all I see is the end. So I need to look at a little bit different way of storing these so I can see them better. But that's the way I've got them for right now. So that's where I put my charm squares, fat quarters, and then you saw this is how I do my yardage. So this I really do love. They're all standing up. I can pull one out. I can put it in without disturbing the whole collection, and I don't have to worry about digging. I can just, and also everything is here standing up where I can see it. So I can see all my prints. I can, you know, go through them, and I can see everything. Nothing is hidden. I know some people worry about having these out in the sunshine, but I've got them blocked. I've got a window here, so there's no, let me rearrange you here. Okay, so we're talking about light. So you'll see I've got them arranged here. There's my window right there behind the TV. So it's shielded a little bit there, so I don't have direct sunlight coming on them. And then come around again, there's my light. There's no direct sunlight coming on them. I've had my fabrics on the shelf like this for years. If I notice, since this is a brighter space than I've had before, if I notice that I see the edges, sometimes just the edges will start to fade when I pull fabric out, then I'll think about something else, or maybe having some kind of cover or something on. But I love having my fabric out like this, so when I'm working on a project, I can just pull whatever I need. I can look through them, and everything is right there where I can see it and get to it. So this is, for me, the best way to store my fabrics, because they're there when I can see them. I can see all of this, and I can say, okay, don't buy any more fat quarters until I use these. I can see, oh, I've got plenty of neutrals, plenty of blues. But if I'm working on a quilt with greens, ooh, maybe I need to look at a different green because I might not have it. But also, jelly rolls, I shouldn't be buying jelly rolls because I have them. I should not be buying layer cakes because I have them. So as you can tell, I have a fabric hoarding problem, and I don't want to recover from it. But just thought I would give you some different options on how to store your fabric and what I do and what works for me. Alright, so this has been a short one, but I did want to give you just kind of a tour of how I do my fabrics, why I do my fabrics that way, and what works for me. As I said, I'm a very visual person, so I like having my fabrics out, and it makes it very easy when I'm looking for something. Very often I'll take a fabric and I'll say, okay, I'm wanting to use this, and I'll kind of go through and hold it up and say, does this work, does that work? And then I can pull different ones out and kind of try them out and see if it works with the project I got going on, instead of pulling tubs and tubs or pulling things out from the bottom. This just makes it, where I've got them standing up, so much easier to be able to sort and find what I have, and to be able to see everything all at one time. I have narrowed down through my reorganization process what I have, what I'm going to use, and donated a lot to my church ministry. So thank you for joining Lady Girl and I this evening and seeing how I organize and how I fold my fabric from half yard all the way up, and how those things that are less. So if I had a half yard of fabric that wouldn't fit on one of these boards, I would fold it and add it in with like my fat quarters, or you know, kind of work it in that way. I would not cut it into a fat quarter, but I would add it in there, because you might have saw that I have in my fat quarters that sometimes I have 3 or 4 of them, because all I could get of that fabric was a fat quarter, and I knew that I would want to use more than that, which is part of my problem. I never get just one tiny little bit of fabric. Isn't that right, Lady Girl? So this system works good for me. So anything less than half a yard of fabric, I would just fold it and put it in with my fat quarters. And then anything half a yard or up, I fold it on those comic book boards, which should be linked below. And then I've showed you charm squares, jelly rolls, layer cakes, fat quarters. So hopefully that gave you some ideas and you can get your fabric organized. Mine is definitely not organized the way I would like, but this I love, and it makes it so much easier. At least everything is here together, and so I can dig and find the things I need. So please give Lady Girl and I a like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment. Let us know what else you'd like to see. What have you seen that we've worked on that you'd like to see some more of? We'll definitely be doing some more of what's in the box. We're going to be finishing up that bunny rabbit table runner here in the next couple of weeks. And so look forward to seeing you guys. And as always, what is it you get to do today? I got to show you how I organize fabric.